It's an imperfect world where a lot can happen, particularly when some don't pay attention or when others take big, great risks. Some of the results are hysterically funny. Others don't come close to defining human tragedy. Welcome to Law Dogs. I'm your host, Jeff Henley, and with me as always is Annabelle. Today we're going to take our first look at negligence. Now, negligence claims are the kinds of claims that arise from daily human interaction. They're the bad things that happen in auto wrecks, slip and falls, and lots of other things that take place when people don't pay attention. The law of negligence developed from the tort of trespass. In England, those smart old common law judges kept seeing instances where folks were getting hurt not because of some physical attack, but because some didn't secure a load, clean up a mess, or worse. Life in medieval England could be nasty and brutish. Awful sanitation, fatal disease, muddy roads, and little policing led to so many accidents. This occurred even more as cities got larger and larger. The common law judges saw an obvious need to protect people from harm, to facilitate commerce, and to make people whole. Now, one of the original articulations of negligence came from the law of trespass, as do so many of our laws. That is, when we think of trespass, we don't just talk about where somebody enters into your land without your permission, but where somebody somehow or another violates your rights, whether it's to your body or to your land or to something else. Now, the classic articulation of negligence comes from a tort called trespass on the case. That is, where someone would leave an object in the roadway, typically like a log that fell off of a cart and then stayed in the road, and then you come riding along on your horse or on foot or maybe in a carriage, and you come across the log and the horse gets hurt, or maybe you get hurt, or your carriage gets dumped over as a result of somebody not doing what he was supposed to do with the log. As with so many other instances in the law, negligence and the rest of the tort system, for example, is about balancing interests. It is about figuring out what kind of duties that we should impose upon people in order that we protect rights, make people whole, but also allow them to move about, see other individuals, or engage in commerce. As a result, with every question of negligence, we're always going to begin first with legal duty. Does the law in a particular instance prescribe a particular course of conduct? And if so, what kind of conduct does it prescribe? Now, when we're talking about negligence and all of its elements, we're talking about duty, and that duty is typically one of reasonable care. And then we're talking about another element, which is someone breaches that duty. They break that duty. Then you look at whether that breach proximately caused someone's damages or injuries. Now, we're going to take each and every one of those elements up in another episode and look at them far more closely. But what I want to tell you now about is how is it that these particular duties, and frankly all the common law duties, came about? They came about from a doctrine we call stare decisis. It's from the Latin, and it means stand by decision. So when we're talking about common law, we're talking about these judges looking at cases one at a time and deciding what would be a reasonable outcome. Then they will look at what have been previous decisions, what we call precedents. Precedents, that is, they preceded something. They took place before something, and another judge, looking at a very similar instance, had determined this should be the law of the case. English judges would apply the facts before them against the law that they knew, and they would render a judgment. So to recap the elements of negligence again, you have a duty of reasonable care, you have a breach of that duty, and that breach proximately causes damages. Now, if any of you have any questions, feel free to email us at lawdogs.com. I'm Jeff Henley, and I hope that you've learned some things. We'll see you soon. Until then, you stay out of trouble or the law dogs will get you.